Совета Безопасности. И сейчас я предоставляю слово представителю Дании.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I thank Deputy Special Coordinator Alec Barra for his briefing. I'd also like to pay tribute to all United Nations personnel and humanitarian workers on the ground, working to deliver aid into Gaza, and to those civilians and hostages for whom the good news has tragically come too late. Mr. President, over the past few weeks, we have witnessed a rare moment in history. After more than 2 weeks of imaginable tragedy and loss, we have a long-needed ceasefire in Gaza. The guns have fallen silent, and in that silence, the first notes of hope can finally be heard. Denmark warmly welcomes the ceasefire and expresses profound gratitude to the United States, Egypt, Qatar, and to others who, in spite of numerous setbacks, have worked relentlessly to make this deal a reality. This ceasefire offers respite and relief. When the hostages and their families, who've lived in terror and despair, can finally begin to heal. When the skies above Gaza carry not the sound of warplanes, but the laughter of children. This is the promise that peace could hold. And yet, as this day finally dawns, we cannot forget the immense suffering that lies in its wake and the long road that lies ahead. Far too many will never wake up to see this peace. Those buried under the rubble, those who fell prey to terrorists, those ensnared by starvation, or those simply caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. This peace is also for them. It is in their memory that we must sustain it. And we must not ignore that Hamas has taken the opportunity to reimpose its campaign of terror on Gaza's population. We continue to stress that Hamas must not be allowed to play a role in the future of Gaza. Mr. President, this ceasefire is not an ending, it is a beginning. Fragile, but full of opportunity. Now, we must act with urgency. The road towards lasting peace will not be easy, but the Security Council must shoulder its responsibility. We must spare no effort, and we trust that this Council will urgently come together to establish a mandate for an international stabilization mission. Denmark welcomes the UN plan to alleviate the suffering of civilians. We stress that the UN and other humanitarian organizations must be fully enabled to deliver the humanitarian aid that millions so desperately need, in line with the agreement on the first phase. Every corridor must be opened, every convoy protected. Aid shipments must be swiftly allowed without undue impediments. Humanitarian and health workers must be protected. We take note of ICJ's advisory opinion yesterday, which clearly establishes that Israel must not obstruct the work of the United Nations and is obliged to accept and facilitate humanitarian aid delivered by UN organizations, including UNRWA. International and local NGOs should be able to work without unnecessary restrictions. In this regard, we repeat our call on the government of Israel to provide authorization for all international NGOs' aid shipments and to unblock essential humanitarian actors from operating. Denmark stands ready with $15 million in support of humanitarian and early recovery efforts, which comes on top of the approximately $153 million humanitarian aid already allocated to the Palestinian people since 2023. Our goal is clear. We must stop the insidious spread of famine. We must ensure that the sick receive the care that they so desperately need. Denmark is also prepared to further support the early recovery as well as the reconstruction of Gaza. But reconstruction is not merely about concrete and steel. It's about dignity. It's about proving to a generation that peace is not a dream, not a privilege, but a right. In deeds, not words. Mr. President, this ceasefire must not be a pause before the next tragedy, but the first step towards a lasting peace. The full implementation of the peace agreement is vital. We're on the right track, but we're not there yet. We deplore that Hamas has not been able to surrender all the bodies of deceased hostages as agreed under the framework. And we deplore that Israel is leveraging humanitarian access and as a result has capped the flow of aid into Gaza. We must not let the opportunity that this peace presents slip between our fingers. We now hold in our hands a rare opportunity to turn this moment of respite into a foundation for a just and enduring peace based on the two-state solution, Israel and Palestine living side by side in security, dignity, and peace. This, a two-state solution, is not only a pressing issue, it is a prerequisite for long-term stability across the region. I thank you.
Я благодарю представителя Дании за ее выступление. Сейчас предоставляю слово представителю Гаяны.